Shalom. Wow, what an amazing event. I'm not used to see so many friendly faces. Usually it's different coming from the UN. Thank you, Norm, Matt. It is amazing what we are having here. When I entered the UN a few years ago, I came from the Israeli Knesset. And in our parliament, I got used that publicly people would say good things about me, but behind closed doors, it wasn't the same. When I came to the UN, I found out that it's exactly the opposite. Publicly, they say bad things about Israel, but privately they admire us. And I understood we have an opportunity to win in the halls of the United Nations. And today I want to share with you the secret recipe for winning in the United Nations. The first thing is to be a proud Jew. I am proud of my tradition. So in my first speech in the Security Council, I put my kippah, my yarmulke. Then I demanded from the UN to recognize Yom Kippur as an official holiday. The same way they respect Christmas and Eid al-Fitr, now they respect Yom Kippur. We are celebrating Jewish holidays at the UN. I invite you all to come on the 15th for a Passover Seder in the UN in New York City. George, you should be there. And before Rosh Hashanah, we held a Tashlich service. For those who are not familiar, we go to the river and we throw bread, which symbolizes our sins. We needed to find a lot of bread for all the sins of the UN. And the Secretary General came and participated in this important effort. But Judaism is not enough. We combine it with Israel. We bring Israel to the UN, and we bring UN to Israel. I am taking UN ambassadors. First of all, we stop in Poland. We go to Auschwitz. We learn the lessons of history. We become witnesses, and then we come to Israel. We travel in the city of David. We meet the Prime Minister, the President, and they get to see the challenges, the threats. 2 months ago, we flew all the way to Metula, and I showed the ambassadors the Hezbollah tunnel that penetrated Israel from Lebanon. So when you speak in the General Assembly, they listen to you. But when you bring them, they actually understand it. And it's working. We are winning. I want to share with you 3 victories. The first victory, when I decided to run for the position of the chairman of the legal committee at the UN, we have 6 committees. My colleagues in Jerusalem told me, Danny, we are not running for positions at the UN. I told Prime Minister Netanyahu, don't worry, I will handle it. It was secret ballots. We counted the votes. And out of 193 member states, I received the support of 109 member states. Thank you. And I became the first Israeli ever to chair a UN committee. Last November, just before your great ambassador, Nikki Haley, a great friend of us, just before she left, we introduced a resolution in the General Assembly to condemn Hamas. We all know that Hamas is a terrorist organization, but in the UN it was a challenge. We put it on the floor of the General Assembly, and we got the support in the General Assembly of 87 member states, and 57 voted against that resolution. That was an amazing achievement that people all of a sudden understood what is Hamas. You know, 2 weeks ago, Hamas launched a rocket to Israel. It landed in my community, in my moshav, Mishmeret, where I raise my children in Israel. And it destroyed the house of my neighbors 100 meters from where I live. So we have to fight against those terrorists. And the third victory happened 3 days ago, when Turkey introduced a resolution in the General Assembly condemning Islamophobia. President Erdogan wanted to be the leader of the Muslim world and introduced a resolution without mentioning anti-Semitism, only Islamophobia. That's after the horrible attack, which we are all condemn it, that happened in New Zealand. And I asked my colleagues, how can you condemn Islamophobia and not anti-Semitism? And I convinced many of my friends, including the Europeans, and at the end, we changed the resolution, and it passed with a new language condemning anti-Semitism. For the first time, the UN condemned anti-Semitism. My friends, we have more friends at the UN. You don't hear about it. But we all know that the United States of America is number one. We feel it every day. And when my colleagues ask me, Danny, how come you get the support of the US? I tell them it is all about the values. It is not about supporting Israel. It is about protecting the American values. And when you stand for your own values, the US is being respected. When President Trump took the brave historical decision to move the embassy to Jerusalem, in the UN we had a Security Council debate. Ambassador Haley vetoed the resolution, and then we went to the General Assembly. We lost that vote. Most of the countries condemned the US for deciding where to place its embassy. Right after the vote, Ambassador Haley and myself, we held a party. And we invited only those countries who voted with the United States of America. And that was a hell of a party. You should have seen the faces of my European colleagues. For the first time, they were not invited to an event. That's how you gain respect at the UN. Last week, when I was with Prime Minister Netanyahu in Washington, and President Trump announced about the Golan Heights, and we heard him today, the Syrian ambassador to the UN called for an emergency session in the Security Council. So I had to leave everything. I took the train back to New York. And in the session, he called the US, and I quote, a terror regime. The Syrian ambassador, shame on him. Shame on him for doing that. We all know what is the history of the Golan Heights. We remember what happened in 1973 on Yom Kippur, when they took advantage of our holiest day. And because we were on the Golan Heights, we blocked the Syrian army. We know that. And I asked my colleagues, to whom exactly you want us to give away the Golan Heights? To whom? To Assad? To ISIS? To the Iranians? We will never allow the Iranians or the Syrians to re-enter the Golan Heights or to get to the shores of the Sea of Galilee. Never. I want to say to President Trump, keep it coming. Keep it coming. Keep making the bold decisions. We will handle the criticism at the UN. We know how to handle them. We are waiting for more. My friends, I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic about our future. When I see the technology that we have, the innovation, we save lives. We prevented terror attack in Sydney, Australia, in France. You don't hear about everything. Every day we use our technology to protect the world. And today, more and more countries understand that we provide solutions to their problems. We helped the Pope to visit Africa with our technology. We protected his troops. And I met a UN official, and I tried to convince him to buy a UAV from Israel. And he was very honest. He told me, Danny, if I will buy the UAV from Israel, I will get a lot of criticism in the UN. Let me buy the European UAV, and that it will be much easier. So I told him, can you please show me the UAV you want to buy, the model of the drone, the UAV? And he showed it to me. I took it from his hands, and I told him, look at the UAV that you want to buy, the European one. The engine is coming from Bet Shemesh. You know where Bet Shemesh is? Near Jerusalem. The camera, which is the most important part of the UAV, it's from Haifa. The wings of the UAV from Migdal HaEmek. I told him, you are not buying a European drone. You are buying an Israeli drone, but you're paying double the price you should pay. And at the end, he bought the Israeli UAV. My friends, I can stay forever, going back to the UN compared to what I see here, it's challenging. But before I conclude, let's take a step back and appreciate what we have here. Appreciate this amazing event with the President and the Vice President and so many friends of the State of Israel. It is amazing. We are living in the most amazing era in Jewish history, despite all the challenges. Israel is strong. We are flourishing. We changed the game at the UN. Next week, we will be landing on the moon. Yes. And all we see today, it is only the beginning. I want to thank you all for your love, for your unconditional support, for your friendship. And I believe that with that love and with that support, we will prevail. Toda Rabba, Am Israel Chai. Thank you very much.